You are listening to Shadow's Truth Volume 1. The Shadow challenges each and every one of you to educate yourselves with respect to history. It is so very important that you all understand the historical significance of what is being said here. It's not right to respond to terrorism by terrorizing other people. And furthermore, it's not going to help. You might say, yes, it's terrorizing people, but it's worth doing because it will end terrorism. But how much common sense does it take to know that you cannot end terrorism by indiscriminately dropping bombs? Behind the deceptive words designed to entice people into supporting violence, words like democracy, freedom, self-defense, national security, there is the reality of enormous wealth in the hands of a few, while billions of people in the world are hungry, sick, homeless. With the indiscriminate nature of modern military technology, no such thing as a smart bomb. It turns out all wars are wars against civilians, and are therefore inherently immoral. This is true even when a war is considered just, because it is fought against a tyrant, against an aggressor, to correct a stolen boundary. When a nation issues ultimatums, it leaves no room for compromise and ensures that war will continue. It is possible, reading standard histories, to forget half the population of the country. The explorers were men, the landholders and merchants men, the political leaders men, the military figures men. The very invisibility of women, the overlooking of women, is a sign of their submerged status. I am supposing, or perhaps only hoping, that our future may be found in the past's fugitive moments of compassion rather than in its solid centuries of warfare. Democracy depends on citizens being informed, and since our media, especially television, which is the most important source of news for most Americans, reports mostly what the people in power do, and repeats what the people in power say, the public is badly informed, and it means we cannot really say we have a functioning democracy. If patriotism were defined, not as blind obedience to government, nor as submissive worship to flags and anthems, but rather as love of one's country, one's fellow citizens all over the world, as loyalty to the principles of justice and democracy, then patriotism would require us to disobey our government when it violated those principles. Human beings are not machines, and however powerful the pressure to conform, they sometimes are so moved by what they see as injustice that they dare to declare their independence. In that historical possibility lies hope. Capitalism has always been a failure for the lower classes. It is now beginning to fail for the middle classes. History is instructive. And what it suggests to people is that even if they do little things, if they walk on the picket line, if they join a vigil, if they write a letter to their local newspaper, anything they do, however small, becomes part of a much, much larger sort of flow of energy. And when enough people do enough things, however small they are, then change takes place. The term just war contains an internal contradiction. War is inherently unjust, and the great challenge of our time is how to deal with evil, tyranny, and oppression without killing huge numbers of people. What is called apathy is, I believe, a feeling of helplessness on the part of the ordinary citizen, a feeling of impotence in the face of enormous power. It's not that people are apathetic, they do care about what is going on, but don't know what to do about it, so they do nothing and appear to be indifferent. War is a form of terrorism. I know there are people who don't like to equate what was done, on September 11, 2001, they don't like to equate that with the war that the United States engaged in. Sure, they were different. But they're not different in the fundamental principle that drives the terrorists, and that is, they were saying, we're going to kill a lot of people but it will be worth it. We're trying to do something. We're trying to accomplish something. They, the terrorists, are not killing people just for the sake of killing people, they have some end in mind. To show that the American empire is vulnerable or to make some point about American policy in the Middle East. But they have an end in mind. We are doing the same thing. I mean, as I say, the details are different, but we are willing to kill a lot of people for some political end that we have declared. The pretense in disputed elections is that the great conflict is between the two major parties. The reality is that there is a much bigger conflict that the two parties jointly wage against large numbers of Americans who are represented by neither party and against powerless millions around the world. While some multimillionaires started in poverty, most did not. A study of the origins of 303 textile, railroad and steel executives of the 1870s showed that 90% came from middle or upper-class families. The mě stories of rags to riches were true for a few men, but mostly a myth, and a useful myth for control. Shadow thanks you for listening. There will be 10 volumes of Shadow's Truth. Please watch and distribute them freely.